The House Judiciary Committee will come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Briggs,
Present.
Representatives Carroll,
Designation.
Donahue, Hanbidge,
Designation.
Hohenstein, Howard, Kenyatta,
Designation.
Kincaid,
Designation.
Mays,
Designation.
Miller,
Designation.
Pielli,
Designation.
Rabb,
Designation.
Sanchez,
Designation.
Schusterman.
Designation.
Chairman Kaufman,
Here.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz, Ecker,
Designation.
Ham,
Designation.
Kale,
Designation.
Kerwin, Clunk,
Designation.
Kuzma, Ledbetter,
Designation.
Rigby,
Designation.
Shalaba.
Designation.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Having a quorum, we will proceed with today's agenda. Because of a scheduling conflict, we are going to hear from the prime sponsor of both bills, House Bill 462 and 464 at the front end of the meeting. Representative Davidson, you are in order on the bills.
Thank you, Chairman Briggs, for allowing me to be here today to speak on House Bills 462 and 464. Thank you, Chairman Kaufman and members of the committee who are here with us today. It was Paul in his letter to the Galatians who implored them to not grow weary of doing good. And I think we could all use some of that wisdom here today. Today is a new beginning for this legislation. It is not new to many of us who have been here for its journey. And for that reason, I'll keep my remarks brief. But today, I think it's best to hear directly from the 2018 grand jury report that really spurred this legislation to move in the first place. And so I'll read directly from the recommendations. Grand jurors are just regular people who are randomly selected for service. We don't get paid much, the hours are bad, and the work can be heartbreaking. While what makes it worthwhile is knowing that we can do some kind of justice. We spent 24 months dredging up the most depraved behavior, only to find that the laws protect most of its perpetrators and leave its victims with nothing. We say laws that do that need to change. The 2018 report from the impaneled grand jury was quite detailed in its findings. The abuse that occurred was shocking both in the specific acts, but also the breadth across the Commonwealth. It was also quite precise in its legislative recommendations, of which I will summarize. 1, to remove the criminal statute of limitations on childhood sexual abuse, which was accomplished in Act 87 of 2019. 2nd, to improve the mandatory reporting statute, which was also accomplished in Act 88 of 2019. 3rd, a law clarifying that non-disclosure agreements do not apply to criminal investigations, which was accomplished in Act 89 of 2019. And finally, opening a window for survivors whose statute of limitations has expired, which has sadly not been accomplished. I'd like to read the recommendation directly so there can be no confusion about the will of this grand jury. We call for a civil window law which would let older victims sue the diocese for the damage inflicted on their lives when they were kids. We saw these victims. They are marked for life. Many of them wind up addicted or impaired or dead before their time. The law in force right now gives child sex abuse victims 12 years to sue once they turn 18. But victims who are already in their 30s and older fell under a different law, and they only got 2 years. For victims in this age range, the short 2-year period would have expired back in the 1990s or even earlier, long before revelations about the institutional nature of clergy sex abuse. We think that's unacceptable. These victims ran out of time to sue before they even knew they had a case. The church was still successfully hiding its complicity. Our proposal would open a limited window, offering a chance, finally, to be heard in court. All we're asking is to give those 2 years back. There are 2 civic phenomena that we hold as the final say in our constitutional republic. First is an election. where we, the people, have the opportunity to decide for ourselves who we send and who we entrust with the power to run our government. And the second is a judgment by the jury of our peers. When a jury speaks, they speak definitively and finally, based on an unbiased review of the facts. And while this was not a criminal case, or a criminal trial, or a criminal jury, this grand jury agreed that all we're asking is to give those 2 years back, and they deserve respect, and this General Assembly should act. Thank you, Chair Briggs, Chair Kaufman, and the members who are here with us today. I ask you all for an affirmative vote on House Bills 462 and 464.
Thank you very much, Representative Davidson. And I know you have a busy agenda today. You have multiple bills running, so if we will not hold it against you if you have to go to your next
Hopefully
meeting.
the discussion is brief.
The chair calls up House Bill 462 by Representative Davidson. Council Vitale, please provide a summary of House Bill 462.
Mr. Chairman, House Bill 462 amends Title 42 to provide a statutory 2-year window for victims of childhood sex abuse to file previously time-barred claims. The bill also waives sovereign and governmental immunity retroactive to permit victims of childhood sex abuse to file suit against the Commonwealth and local agencies and its employees during a 2-year window. The bill includes a non-severability clause and provides the Supreme Court extraordinary jurisdiction to hear constitutional challenges and issue declaratory judgments concerning the constitutionality of the act. The bill takes effect immediately, and there are no amendments.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the bill? Are there any questions on the bill? Seeing none, are there any negative votes on the bill? Secretary, please call the roll. I'm sorry. Would you like to comment?
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry, Representative Bond, you're in order on the bill.
I didn't have a question, but I did have a comment. I'm
That would be
sorry
great.
about that.
You're in order.
Under normal circumstances, I would never consider making a statute of limitations retroactive against people who have suffered injury. But these are not normal circumstances. The alleged victims were children when the sexual attacks allegedly occurred, and the alleged perpetrators were trusted advisors. They were members of the clergy, they were teachers, they were counselors, among other groups of individuals. Even still, under these circumstances, I would not support retroactive application of a statute of limitations, except for the systematic perversion of justice that occurred during these attacks. Churches, schools, individuals in authority were able to avoid confrontation with those who alleged the heinous nature of these attacks. There was concealment and destruction of evidence. And there was discrediting of children in their place of worship and their place of education by those who they trusted and should have been looking to solve the problem rather than add to it. Some critics of this legislation will say that this exposes our churches and our schools to exorbitant monetary claims. Our churches, schools, and employers only have liability if they know or should have known about these attacks. The mere fact that they had these individuals in their employment does not place liability upon them. Somehow, they had to be involved. These acts then are vile, they are heinous, and they were committed on our children. An employer then who ignored warnings, who moved these attackers around from different communities, different states, who ignored clear warning signs that these attacks were occurring upon our children, should not escape responsibility for their conduct. Some critics may also say, well, it's too easy for someone to make up an allegation and make some money. I can tell you that those people involved in this process would gladly trade any sum of money for their innocence. I can also tell you that our justice system is not so easily fooled that someone simply coming forward 30 to 40 years later and making a claim will prevail. The insurance companies and these institutions fight these cases aggressively, and unless there is some corroboration of the claim, these claims will not succeed. An individual who sought no medical care, including psychological care, who never reported the attacks to anyone, is highly unlikely to prevail in any litigation. And if the alleged perpetrator is deceased, there is a statute called the Dead Man Statute that gives that deceased person protection under the law from allegations of this nature. Without corroboration, then, this is an uphill battle. And I'm confident that fabrication will not succeed in our courtrooms. The retroactive application, then, of the statute of limitations, in my opinion, is justified in this rare circumstance. And I believe that the presentation yesterday of Professor Hamilton presented the stronger argument about the retroactivity of the statute of limitations. Therefore, I will be supporting this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Bonner. Any other comments before? Representative Miller, you're in order.
You know, I only want to say that I thank Representative Bonner for his thoughtful analysis, both legally and policy-wise, of the issue before us. There's no doubt that everyone who attended law school understands some of the uniqueness of the issue before us. But the representative did a fantastic job of going through some of that history and some of those points and still reflecting on the size of the damage and harm should we not provide a window. I don't think I've heard a better recitation of the issue. I've been here for 11 plus years. This issue, unfortunately, has failed to have its opportunity for several reasons. But here today, that 3 minutes was the best reason I have heard, the best 3 minutes I have heard for people to support this issue. So I want to commend the representative for his analysis and his words today.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Representative Mays.
Well, I want to thank the maker of the bill. As co-prime sponsor of both House Bill 462 and House Bill 464, we together are bringing our own lived experience to this legislation. One of my first speech on the House floor unexpectedly was sharing my own experience with childhood sexual abuse. I never in a million years thought that would be the forum for me to talk about my experience, and I am better and stronger for it because I was able to do so. And so we are continuing the work in this session to ensure that no child, no matter where they live in this Commonwealth, will be violated in the ways that impact us at a soul level for the rest of their lives. It is our duty and our responsibility to act as a legislature to protect our children. It is our duty to ensure that those who commit these crimes against children have the opportunity to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And those of us who survive childhood sexual abuse, we don't always have the ability to communicate and articulate what the impact of those experiences are on our lives. To this day, I still grapple with the effects of what I experienced. And I know me and my colleague who has been so brave in continuing this legislative fight, it is not easy for us to talk about it. But we do because we don't want to see it happen to any other child in our Commonwealth when it can be prevented, stopped, or we can hold people to account when they commit these types of sexual violence against children. And so this isn't about me, and this is not about my colleague, Rep. Davidson. This is about who are we as a Commonwealth and how we can take every step, every action, everything in our power to protect the children of this Commonwealth. I didn't put together that, oftentimes we're talking about Catholic priests and clergy, but it's also other trusted adults, such as coaches, such as teachers, such as those who are supporting, the different parishes and dioceses. It's not just clergy. It's those who we trust to take care of us, to keep us safe, and never to sexually violate or exploit us. And I didn't expect to speak today, but I just wanted to offer that this is our moment, once again, to act on behalf of the children of the Commonwealth and to help the adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse find some way to healing and find some way to justice. It is our responsibility to help them do so. Thank you, Chair. And I ask my colleagues for a yes vote on both bills.
Thank you very much, Representative. Chairman Kaufman, and then we're going to go to roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate all of those in this conversation, and I certainly appreciate the intent of all those who are pushing this legislation forward. As Majority Chairman, I, both as chair of the committee and as an individual member, helped to forward this conversation over the years. But I also, over the years, have recognized that this certainly is not the panacea, the great solution to this issue. The gentlelady from Hanover raised some very valid points and concerns yesterday. As someone who is right across the border from the state of Maryland, I've seen the issues that they've run into, and I will not be supporting this legislation, either piece of legislation today, but certainly look forward to the continuing conversation on this issue as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs,
Yes.
Representatives Carroll, Donahue, Hanbidge,
Designation, yes.
Hohenstein,
Yes.
Howard, Kenyatta,
Designation, yes.
Kincaid, Mays,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Pielli,
Yes.
Rab,
Designation, yes.
Sanchez,
Designation, yes.
Schusterman.
Designation, yes.
Chairman Kaufman,
No.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz,
Designation, no.
Ecker,
Designation, no.
Ham,
Designation, no.
Kale,
Designation, no.
Kerwin, Clunk, Kuzma, Ledbetter,
Designation, no.
Rigby,
Designation, no.
Shalaba.
Designation, no.
This bill passes a vote of 15 to 11.
House Bill 462 passes and will be reported as committed. Next on the agenda, the chair calls up the last bill, House Bill 464, also by Representative Davidson. Council Vitale, please provide a summary of the House Bill 464.
Mr. Chairman, House Bill 464 proposed a constitutional amendment to provide a 2-year window for victims of childhood sex abuse to file previously time-barred claims. The amendment also includes a waiver of sovereign, governmental, and official immunity and removal of caps during the 2-year window. As a proposed constitutional amendment, this legislation must pass each chamber of the General Assembly in identical form in 2 consecutive legislative sessions before it is presented to voters. This will be the first session through the General Assembly. Mr. Chairman, there are no amendments.
Thank you, council. The question is, will the committee report the bill? Are there any comments on the bill? I went too fast last time, so I'm trying to pause. Are there any negative votes on the bill?
Yes.
Seeing one, Chairman, Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs?
Yes.
Representatives Carroll? Donahue?
Designation yes.
Hanbidge?
Designation yes.
Hohenstein? Yes. Howard? Yes. Kenyatta?
Designation yes.
Kincaid? Yes. Mays?
Yes.
Miller? Pielli?
Yes.
Rab?
Designation yes.
Sanchez?
Designation yes.
Schusterman?
Designation yes.
Chairman Kaufman?
No.
Representatives Bonner? Orwitz?
Designation no.
Ecker?
Designation no.
Ham?
Designation no.
Kale?
Designation no.
Kerwin? Plunk? Kuzma? Ledbetter?
Designation no.
Rigby?
Designation no.
Shalaba?
Designation no.
This bill passes a vote of 15 to 11.
Thank you, Secretary. House Bill 464 passes and will be reported as committed. Before we adjourn, we have a hearing tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. on the Mental Health Procedures Act. Should be very informative, and hope you all will be able to attend a portion of it. This meeting stands adjourned.